Kia ora guys, Mon here from Newshub. I'm joined by Rita Walsh, the producer of I Used to Be Normal, a boy band fangirl story.
Hi.
Incredible movie.
Thank you.
Relatable to a lot of people, I feel.
Yes.
Then sometimes bordering on extremes that people might not be able to relate to. What drew you to this idea of fangirls and the communities around them?
Okay, so the director Jessica Leske at the age of 31 fell in love with One Direction.
Never too old.
Yeah, never too old.
Yeah.
Should have known better, but she looked at Harry Styles' cheekbones for more than a second and it was all over.
Cannot blame her.
And so, you know what they say, turn what you procrastinate with into your job.
Mm-hmm.
So she came and spoke to me and I danced to the Backstreet Boys at school assembly. So I was like, yes, I'm in, let's do this. And like we started researching fans online and saw these amazing fan communities and met some of the women that are now in the film. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much going on. It's such a rich, deep
Absolutely.
area to explore.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think? Because obviously there are fans all over the world for all kinds of musicians and artists,
Yeah.
groups, solo artists. What is it about boy bands that really creates that level of, for want of a better word, hysteria that we don't see with basically any other kind of artists?
Yeah, exactly. You're right. I mean, like the Beatles kind of are that foundational boy band, right? Mm-hmm. And when it all started with them, although there's evidence of fangirls going back hundreds of years, but
William Shakespeare fangirls?
yes, or listomania is a
Yeah.
whole thing. But yeah, there's something about boy bands. I think it's because they're so beautifully crafted. There's a character, there's one for you, there's one for your friend, there's one for your other friend. Mm-hmm. You can switch if you like. And they're so cute, they're so safe. And for teenage girls who are just developing their sense of adult identity, their brain is brand new. It's the first thing that they can pick for themselves and they just feel everything so intensely.
Absolutely. And do you think, is there anything about that industry then, because like you say, it's such a well-oiled machine?
Yeah.
And is it slightly cruel? Is it slightly evil, this idea of boy bands that can kind of harness young, vulnerable girls who are hormonal and emotional, and then they can make all this money off them and kind of keep them right where they want them?
Yeah, I think certainly there's something cynical about that. Ask the One Direction fans what they think of Simon Cowell and you're going to get an interesting answer. They feel very conflicted about him.
Really? Because
yeah.
he's the reason that they got
puppet
together on the X
master.
Factor.
Yeah.
He's the reason that they're all together. So wouldn't they sort of worship him as well?
They do, but they also think the boys have worked too hard and they're not looked after. 5 albums in 5 years, that's pretty hard. You know, Zayn couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So the fans have really intelligent answers to that question, which is what we were surprised by, because even when Jess fell in love with One Direction, she was like, I'm a total victim of marketing here. However, what the experiences that the girls are going through, they're really genuine and they're smart. And I think all of the girls in the film are intelligent enough to laugh at themselves and laugh at the bands and the outfits and the cheesy songs, but still engage and find a way in their really intelligent, unique ways to have a meaningful experience.
Absolutely. And so the film follows 4 women, girls. They're all at different stages of life, which I found really interesting, because one of the first things we see in the movie is the opening sequence. We go from that Beatlemania black and white footage of girls screaming and pulling their hair out to a similar thing, but in front of a computer screen doing a YouTube React video to a One Direction concert. How do you think fangirldom has changed?
Surprisingly little. You know, I mean, we do think now of, you know, you can tweet at Harry Styles or you can tag Louis in your Instagram post and they might see it, and every now and then they will follow you back, which is amazing.
Oh my God. And then if you put on your Twitter bio, Louis followed me,
exactly.
17th of July.
Yeah, exactly. 5 out of 5 follow, whatever.
Yeah.
You do think it's changed, but when you hear Susan talk about writing to John Lennon back in the day and the fact that he looked her in the eye, he did.
Of course, no question, no question.
Like, they have the same connection. It's very real. You know, the Take That fans of the 90s all like used to mail each other their photos after mailing each other a photo.
Bless.
Like, you know, it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
And, you know, yeah.
And so when it came to finding the girls, you know, we can tell that you spoke to lots of people and did a lot of research, but we've got these 4 women that we follow. How did you pick them out?
So Alif, who's the One Direction fan, and you've already mentioned her reaction video, we found that video. And there's lots of One Direction reaction videos online, but what's amazing about hers, and it goes for 8 minutes in full. She's just losing
Hysterical.
it. Crying, sobbing. I used to be normal, you know.
Yeah.
Hers was a hidden camera. She's watching a One Direction DVD, concert DVD, and that's what brings it on. Hers is hidden, so her reaction is much more raw and unbridled and unguarded. It's amazing. And we wrote to her and said, we're making a film. Do you want to talk about One Direction? And she said yes.
Of course, any excuse,
yes.
right? Several times the girls mention the idea of this pursuit of getting close to their idols by whatever means necessary.
Yes.
And there is some talk of maybe this documentary might help me get closer to Gary Barlow from Take That. Did you, as a filmmaker, were you like, hey, there's an ulterior motive here, or did you totally understand that? Like if they were just doing the film to maybe have another shot?
Oh, well, we're doing it as well.
For the same reasons. Yeah.
You know, there's no ulterior motive. I think it's out in the open. We would love the boys to see this film. I mean, Harry now at his concerts really openly engages with that fangirl world. You know, I don't know if you look at how he talks on social media. He's like, embrace fangirls. They're amazing. So maybe he'll come.
Oh, imagine that.
Well, he's in Auckland tonight. Yeah. So we would love the boys to see it and share it. The Backstreet Boys gave to our Kickstarter.
No, they did not. How much?
I can't say. But
was it a lot?
It wasn't heaps. But
they're rich. They're still doing Backstreet Boys cruises. Surely they should be like.
No, they gave to the Kickstarter, but what they did is wrote on our wall and said, fans might say, we've saved their lives, but in many ways, they've saved ours. Thank you for making us larger than life.
Oh, no, they did not.
They did.
They just crowbarred a lyric in there. I love it. Well, because that's what that song was about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was sort of an ode to their fans back in the day. I remember it very vividly myself. That must have been an amazing moment then.
I screamed.
Yeah, I bet. Because now, you as yourself, do you consider yourself a fangirl?
Yeah, I do now. I'm more of a fangirl now of the fangirls.
Right.
But, you know, I grew up in the 90s and Backstreet Boys was my evil of choice.
Do you think that there is a tipping point at which, like with some of these girls, were there points where you were slightly worried? Like you tracked them over several years.
Yeah.
Were there points where you're like, this is really getting in the way of you living your life? Does it become an addiction at some point rather than a fun, nice thing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I would say, just to start off with, is that throughout this entire film, we set out to make, there are so many fan films about the crazies. Like there's a Film 4 doco about 1D fans made 4 years ago, and the fans hated it because they just picked the girls that are really, you know, damaged, I guess, and there's not many of them. Most of the fandom are amazing, but loving a boy band is full of contradictions, especially if you're a young, independent feminist growing up today, which all of our girls are. And so for Sadia in particular, she's like, should I be getting on with my life, or should I keep going to paying like so much money to meet the Backstreet Boys backstage? Yeah, we wanted to dip our toe in there and work out, where does it get unhealthy.
And did you think that there was a point with...
Yeah, I think there is a point where I love boy bands, but I think they're best left in their boxes, and we don't know who these people are really, and in a few cases, you know, Nick Carter particularly perhaps, we don't know what they're really like.
There's a complex backstory there that might not make them the role model that we want them to be. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And especially with Elif, who is the youngest one. She's only 16 or so when we meet her, or
she's actually in the video. She's only 14, but by the time she's got to 18, 19 by the time we finish. Yeah.
Right, yes, but you track her over those like crucial teenage years.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, were there any points where you were like, I kind of want to like shake you out of this a little bit?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I mean, she's so anti her family, and
she literally says at one point that the boys of One Direction mean more to her than her family.
Exactly.
That made me gasp when she said that.
And her family are gorgeous and love her. They're Turkish Muslim immigrants living in Long Island, New York. They are strict with her in many ways, but not so strict that, you know, for example, they held her back from being a part of our film. And she's so embarrassed by them and so anti them.
Because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the end of the film, and even more so now actually, we finished the film, she's like, you know, she loves her family, she wants to study and make something, you know, at the age of 17 you believe you can be Harry Styles, like, or famous, and that's a wonderful thing. But yeah, she really grows up, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, which, yeah, we all remember that sort of intense time. What is it about those teenage years you think that allows you to lock on to someone or something, or a boy band in that way?
Yeah, well, I guess what we learnt doing some other research is that teenage brain actually totally packs down and rebuilds during those years. That's why you want to sleep a lot, because you're growing. And so everything you feel super intensely. And so you hear that music, like I said, with my mum and Rod Stewart, and that's what locks you onto it. Whatever you feel then, it keeps you there forever. And I think falling in love with a boy band, for the girls, it's not even sexual. You know, you start off with a boy band, you start off with the Beatles, and you graduate to the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
So,
and they are almost always presented as these clean-cut guys that you could take home to your mother.
Very safe.
Yeah.
Very safe. Singing about "I want to hold your hand."
Yes, exactly.
Or singing about your low self-esteem. You don't know you're beautiful.
Oh, it's a life-changing moment to have Harry Styles sing that to you, isn't it? So one thing I really appreciated about it, and you touched on it briefly before, is this idea that these girls are not specimens to be kind of ogled at and think, oh God, they're freaks.
Yeah.
You're quite non-judgmental as filmmakers looking at them, and we learn more and more about their stories, and we sometimes get a little bit of insight into why maybe they've fixated and held on to things the way that they have. Was that an important part of it going into the process for you?
To be respectful of the girls. Yeah, we were really, as I said, I think for us, we really wanted to empower the teenage girl experience. There's a lot of judgment, and we tend to dismiss teenage girls and whatever they love. And even in their day, the Beatles were treated like crazy. What's this crazy hysterical stuff? But I mean, the Beatles have got cool with age. One Direction and the Backstreet Boys are still getting cool, but you know, we tend to dismiss whatever they like and treat it as transient and stupid. But the girls are having really genuine experiences, and those experiences they will take with them throughout their lives. Loving a boy band has brought Susan, Dara, Alif and Sadia and made them into the women that they are today. And that's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so on that note then, just to finish, if there was anybody watching out there who may or may not still have some Backstreet Boys memorabilia or maybe likes to wear a certain t-shirt to bed with maybe a boy band on it, what would you say to them?
I would say A, come and see the film, and B, be out and proud. Come out. It's safe to be a boy band fangirl today, and yeah, embrace your inner teenager. It's
Wonderful.
a great thing.
Thanks so much, Rita. That's great. Go and see the movie.